Obama. Look at that. 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 That is freaking predator right there.
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you? This is just Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. This is just look at that. This is just look at that. This is just look at that. This is just look at that.
Alex Jones is lying to you. That might come as a shock.
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man. This is just this is just Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. This is just corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. He's a disgrace. He's a disgrace. He's a disgrace. He's a disgrace. Look at that. Look at that.
I'm worried about my espresso machine. I'm not.
That could be your headline.
It's not a joke.
No.
It's just I'm worried about my lathe.
Out there, like in
Just pillow.
who broke into my computer? Oh, the back end data just exploded. I'm talking about getting rid of the machines, melt them down and turn them into prison bars.
Pillow.
I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are lawyers. The lawyers are lawyers. The lawyers are lawyers. Get rid of the machines. I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
Just pillow.
Who did this attack? Who did this cyber attack? So you have, the good geeks, and they patch it up and they fix it and they put up better protection, virus protection. But here's what my attorney said. He said
Just pillow. They took the pillow phone. Do you frequently go to Hardee's? Is that a common place you go?
Okay, that's pretty funny, David.
No, it's not. I'm not.
That could be your headline. The machines. I said I would have bashed through them and went to find a drive-through.
It's really incredible, the branding around that.
I said, no, you're not getting my phone. I said, arrest me. I've done nothing wrong. He said, no, we're not going to arrest you. I said, well, you can do anything. You hack in, and you can get rid of the machines. I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
I'm worried about my pillow.
No, Goose, that's the worst thing for you because your cervical nerves in your neck, I will send you some pillows.
I'm worried about my lathe.
I'm talking about getting rid of the machines.
Okay.
Melt them down and turn them into prison bars.
Just pillow. All right, thanks,
sounds
Mike.
good.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yep.
If there is anything that needs to be satirized and remixed, it is Trump talking about massive dumps. And by the way, extra points, if you can sample Trump saying massive dumps and me talking about it in a song, please do it.
Dumps. Big massive dumps. Dumps. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps. Dump, dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps. Dumps. Dump, dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sir, you just
Dump, dump,
won.
dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps.
Donald Trump insisted multiple times that it was massive dumps that led him to lose the election, which is just
on another level, on another level.
Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sir, you just
Dump,
won.
dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sir, you just
Dump,
won.
dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps.
You turn the faucet on in areas where there's tremendous amounts of water, where the water rushes out to sea because you could never handle it. People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. Quietly dripping
Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Sir, you just
Dump,
won.
dump, dumps. Dumps. Dump.
Dump. Big massive dumps. Dumps.
Dumps. Dumps.
Dumps.
What is going on here? What is going on here? It's just beyond parody. I mean, massive dumps cost them the election. What is going on here? What is going on here? It's just beyond parody. I mean, massive dumps cost them the election. What is going on here? What is
Dumps.
massive dumps? That
Dumps.
Well, it's 10 times.
Dumps.
multiple times.
Dumps.
Uh-oh. Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes.
Uh-oh.
I love mangoes too.
9 cents. Now that we are up under a Biden's regime, my bag of mangoes now costs $11.99.
That seems like a pretty good deal. A bag of mangoes? Aren't mangoes like $3 each? That's it. I want what, $8 or $11. That sounds good.
The American people will lie. And highway robbery is what you're doing. Bring my mangoes back down. My bag of mangoes. My bag of mangoes.
Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes. Bring my mangoes back down. Raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Bring my mangoes back down.
The Wisconsin crowd identified with the mangoes too.
Disproportionately affected the American people. Those who want me to be healthy. Those who want me to be healthy. If highway robbery is what you're doing. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit.
Mangoes? Well, welcome everybody into the new studio. It is the new look David Pakman Show studio. Very spacious in here. I absolutely love it. It's the new mustache. I cleaned up for everybody today. Had a major workout at the gym, and it would not have been appropriate to do this stream without a shower. And so it is all happening. I shaved, and it is just all happening in an incredible way. And it is so great to be here. Folks, is this anyone's first State of the Union address? Let me know in the chat if this is the first one for you. Watching it, I guess I would say. And let me know if this is your first time using the internet. That would also be an interesting thing. I do want to put up on the scoreboard, we are already at 10, actually 11 new subscribers, which is great. I think we're going to have a fantastic night. We are going to be here for the State of the Union starting at the top of the hour. As you can see on your screen, Joe Biden has not yet left the White House. It is a relatively short drive from the White House over to the Capitol. It is tradition, I guess we would say, for those who are not. Oh, I should sit in the middle. Let's see. Okay, I want to make sure I'm centered for everybody. Relatively short trip, and it is part of the tradition that the president will head over from the White House to the Capitol and be greeted by certain congressional leaders, and it's all going to be happening tonight, and it is such a great thing. Now, I want to put right up front, I am not prejudging. You know, things start to leak about what to expect. And I don't want to prejudge tonight until we hear the speech. But it appears as though Joe Biden is going to be making a number of policy proposals. Tonight's State of the Union, at this early stage of the night, may be one of the most policy heavy, just thick with policy, wide even as well. And if that is the case, if they stuff this State of the Union address with policy up the wazoo, I would actually really like that. And it will be a very interesting thing to review in detail on tomorrow's podcast, which I hope everybody is listening to on a regular basis. We actually had, YouTube is in the toilet 10 to 15 times, but last month was the best month ever for our podcast, approaching, quite frankly, approaching 1 million downloads a month on the audio only podcast, which for such a humble podcast as ours is really great. A lot of people asking about what's going on with the shaving. So I have good news on the shaving and bad news on the shaving. And on such an important night, I'm not going to spend the whole day. I know that the mustache is very distracting. There's actually a guy behind AOC here who I believe has an even more distracting mustache than me. See that guy right there? If you think my mustache is distracting, imagine having to keep the camera steady with that guy in the background, as you can see. But needless to say, I really don't know what the right razor is for me. 20 years ago, I was using a Mach 3. And everybody came to me, people on the show, and said, David, for a man of culture such as yourself, you really shouldn't be using a Mach 3. You need to be using a safety razor. There's all these different things. I've tried everything, quite frankly. I got a beautiful German safety razor with Japanese blades. And I cut myself up the wazoo, and people say, oh, well, you need to learn the technique. Maybe the technique just isn't, maybe I just don't know. It's not learnable for me. I don't know. Most recently, I tried the One Blade, which is sort of like a cross between a Mach 3 and like a single safety razor. I don't know. What I can tell you is working for me is I got a boar's hair, boar bristle brush, and some beautiful, beautiful shaving cream. That's all working really, really well. But on the blades, I just don't know. And I'll be honest, I'm about ready to go back to the Mach 3. So if people want to send me suggestions, the One Blade does not give me a close shave, and it just hurts like hell. It really hurts like hell. So if people want to email like an appropriate suggestion, info@davidpakman.com. The brush is critical. I'm brushing, I'm doing big circles, and then I'm, doing all this stuff. It feels beneath me to go back to the Mach 3. It feels so wasteful. But I may not have a choice. And I may have to do it. All right, so let's get that out of the way. Let's do the following. This is what's on the table for today. Our initial goal is 100 website members and Twitch subscribers. If we get to 250, I will stick around for the rebuttal speech from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the new governor of Arkansas, passing a very powerful anti-CRT bill. CRT not taught in schools, but just in case, you can never be too careful. If we get to 250, I will stick around. And if we get to 500, I will fill in the mustache with some dye and do a couple of shows with it. And I will look absurd, but I will do it, okay? If we get to 500, we're filling in the mustache, and it's going to be crazy. I would even be willing to fill it in some different color than my natural hair color. So that's on the table, but not blue. It has to be a naturally occurring color. So I'm not going to do blue, but I'm willing to do that. If we get to 1 billion, then I will retire tonight. Okay, let's look at a few super chats. Kuya Isaac says, David, will you please look into the camera and say Mickey sucks? This is a gameplay with a friend of mine, and this could get me a lot of points. No, I'm not going to do that. NH Barracks, have you tried Henson Razor with discount code MAJORITY? I should try that. I really should. That might be the way to get maybe that'll get me the best shave. Rusty Shackelford dumping in a $50 super chat says, love the stash. It's very Pedro Pascal. Keep it growing. Free Rusty. Green Man. I paid monetary tribute to the man. Now lift the unnecessary mute. Bradbury says, David, I would recommend Harry's razors. Much better than Gillette products. And Steven says, sir, with tears of laughter in my eyes, your zoomed in background on the live stream says Man Show. New studio looks great, though. Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, look at that. It's the Man Show. Women welcome, non-binary people welcome. Everybody here is welcome. I do want to thank a couple other really, really great people. Billy Carpenter and Pilot Dog, Dirt Nap, Jen here, Multi Beast, all of these really, really fantastic people dumping in an additional 12 subscriptions, putting us at 23. And a big thank you to Martin Fillion for gifting a subscription on my website. Folks, free subscriptions are still available. All you have to do is go to davidpakman.com/free membership, fill it out, and you'll be next in line for a free membership. So like Martin just donated one. So now someone gets a free membership. If you can't afford one or you don't want to, go to davidpakman.com/free membership. Fill it in. And it'll be a very, very exciting thing. Okay, I have a whole bunch of things to get to with everybody. Let's just go through a couple other super chats. Bay Photo says, welcome back, sir. Love the new set. George Santos was an excellent guest host last week. May I recommend Harry's Razors? P.S. Will someone shout obscenities at Joe Biden tonight? If yes, then who? Okay, so let me give you a couple of predictions tonight. I believe the balloon will be discussed tonight. I believe someone on the Republican side will yell out at Joe Biden, without a doubt. And I believe that Joe Biden will be very policy heavy this evening. Those are my predictions. They may not be much, but they are indeed my predictions. Okay. Haley says tomorrow George Santos will say he gave a great State of the Union speech, best of the age. Absolutely. Cardiothoracic surgeon George Santos tomorrow will be delivering his own response. Daniel says, David, it's Nug, free Rusty. Free Rusty. All right. Very powerful. Thanks to Meaty Legs and Bionic Bill for the Twitch subscriptions. Very much appreciate that. Always, always, always appreciated. You know, people are getting $1 memberships. Does anybody know how people are getting $1 memberships? I don't even know how that's possible on the website. Does anybody have any idea? 2 people just signed up for $1. And I didn't even know that was possible. Sean and Peyton, how did you get $1 memberships? That's really strange. Thanks to Prue and Cubamu. BS Button as well. No. This is on my website. It's not about being in a different country. I genuinely don't get that. Please email me and tell me how you subscribed for $1. I have no idea how you did that. And now Tim did it. What on earth? This is genuinely bizarre. I think so. It must be monthly. How are people doing this? I genuinely don't know. Like, what coupon code could I use? Please no more Trump. Like, what does that do? Something's funky here. $2.10. No, so that's not it. Huh. Anyway, if somebody who did that can email me, in all seriousness, I don't know how people are doing that. All right, let's get into some other stuff. Let's look at a couple of clips from my appearance with Patrick Bet David. Now, I do genuinely really appreciate all of the kind comments that I received about my appearance on the Patrick Bet David show. I also think that there are some things I did that I could have been better prepared for. I really do. So let's look at a couple of clips here. Let me see which ones they are. Okay, let's look at a couple of these. We should have some kind of minimum level healthcare system for everybody. And it would actually be cheaper than what we have. What we have includes people that go to the emergency room as primary care, which is insanely expensive. Sometimes they don't pay their bills, and that leads to everybody who does have health insurance is just absorbing that cost. True. It would just be cheaper if we provided everybody some basic level of care. There are states that have done it. I think that's just a basic thing. And secondly, I would like to socialize some aspect of paid family leave, parental and maternal. Did you guys hear that sigh he just made? Expensive. It's economically stimulative in the sense that when other countries have done it, they find that productivity ends up being higher when parents return to work, and it's been widely studied. We should have some kind. All right, so that's not bad. People are telling me the website is down. I don't think it's down for everybody because there are 22 people right now working on getting memberships. But let me see what's going on. The website's been funky lately. I'm not going to lie. No, the website pulled right up for me. And Kirsten Hartman as well as Martin Fillion had no trouble signing up. I'm just going to give the website the old reboot just in case. Let's hit that reboot server thing. That should hopefully clear out the pipes a little bit. I still don't know how people are signing up for $1. I'm losing control of my own website, guys. I'm not going to lie. The free membership link you mentioned didn't work. davidpakman.com/free membership. Oh, the website's just rebooting, but it works fine. Okay, let's continue. Let's look at the next clip from this. Here we go.
Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah.
If you ever voted for a Republican president?
No, I mean, I've only voted in a few elections.
Yeah.
See, now this is one of those cases where like he responds with, he just changes the topic. It goes from would I to have I. Different things.
Hold on a second.
But you're 40 years old. You're 1984. So
I'm 38, please.
84, 38 years old. 38 is still, you've had plenty of elections.
Let's back up for a second. There's two questions. Would I and have I? I've only voted in a few presidential elections.
You've had plenty of chances.
Well, but who would I voted for? I was going to vote for George W. Bush in 2004. No.
Right. Absolutely not. So let's see. There was that. Let's see what else we've got.
It's not only if COVID didn't happen, Trump probably would have gotten reelected. I think if when COVID started, instead of Trump saying, we have 15 cases, soon going to be 0, do flu vaccines work on COVID? What about bleach injections? All that stuff. If instead of that, Trump said, hey, you know what? We're the United States. We're going to deal with this better than anybody else. We're making MAGA masks. And by the way, 50 cents on every dollar will go, his normal fundraising scams, right? Do the scams, but do the MAGA masks. And if he said, we're going to be absolutely the best on this thing, he wins. We saw it in New Zealand. We saw it in other places. It was a missed opportunity. Now, I think it was just a miscalculation in the sense that somewhere Trump probably thought it was really going to go away.
Now, that's one of those things where because of his audience, I'm trying to be a little bit more charitable. Like, I don't think Trump had a clue one way or the other. I think Trump was just a moron. So I tried to be like, maybe Trump genuinely thought it was going to go away, but it didn't, and be like marginally more charitable. Let's see. What else do we have? Why am I not a socialist?
Why are you not a socialist?
I think that the market is a fine way to direct resources in the vast majority of areas, whether it's sneakers or automobiles or cell phones. I think that that's absolutely a fine way to direct resources. I see it as an authoritarian imposition for a government to come to a business owner like you or like me and say, you must socialize the ownership of this company.
Right.
And I'm against that. I don't see any reason for that. I don't see a legal basis and I don't see a moral basis for it. What I am okay with as a capitalist, right? So, and I know I saw your conversation with my friend Kyle Kulinski, and it seemed like you guys were talking past each other a little bit on social democracy versus socialism or whatever. I consider myself a social democrat, sort of in the mold of Denmark, Sweden, etc. Those are capitalist countries that have decided to socialize a couple more things than we've socialized in the United States.
Right.
That's really the difference. And it's capitalism. It's a form of capitalism.
Yeah.
Why are you not?
It was a pretty wild time. That's for damn sure. My favorite clip from the entire thing was this one.
Did during Trump Russia attack Ukraine?
No, that's not it.
What happened with Palestine and Israel?
What happened?
Now, at that moment, I'm like, I genuinely don't. What happened? I don't know what he's talking about. I actually don't know what he's talking about there.
Palestine and Israel.
What happened?
What happened? They came together after 20-some years.
What?
What are you talking about when you say what?
What are you talking about?
This is absolutely my favorite moment from the entire interview, where it's like he realizes he also doesn't know what he's talking about. So he turns to the other guy. Israel and Palestine came together. This is absolutely my favorite moment.
Did during Trump Russia attack Ukraine?
No, that's not it.
What happened with Palestine and Israel?
What happened?
What happened? They came together after 20-some years.
What?
What are you talking about when you say
what? What are you talking about?
Did during Trump Russia?
Oh, God. What a moment. What a moment. Let me see if there's anything. We're going to the entire thing's already out already. There's a bunch of these here. This one got This one got 5.5 million views. Oh, look at that.
Why do you think they didn't like or respect Trump? Let's see what you're going to say with that. Why do you think? Tell me.
The guy's a joke.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us why. And Biden's not a joke.
Well,
You're
we
right.
can talk about Biden.
Oh, because Biden's like the goat and,
no,
and Trump's the joke.
No.
Okay, so
I'm critical
tell us
of
why
Biden,
he's a joke.
But I think it's important to say: are we talking about Trump or are we talking about Biden?
No.
We can talk about both,
identify
but let's
both.
talk about them one at a time.
Stay on Trump.
Okay,
Stay on Trump
fair.
when he says he's a joke. Tell us
Okay.
why you think he's a joke.
Promises made that were not kept that he told us he was going to achieve for us. Let's look at some of them. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with, his word, a beautiful replacement where everyone will have care and it's going to be affordable.
Right.
Okay. Just flat out didn't happen. The one proposal that Republicans made would have led to 24 to 32 million people losing health care. I consider that a failure. I don't think Obamacare is perfect, but it's better than the thing Trump said he was going to bring us. That was just a failure. 2, build a wall across the entire U.S.-Mexico border, which Mexico is going to pay for. It's not even worth having a conversation. I mean, just a joke. Of course, completely didn't happen. Solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No progress made. In fact, to be honest, and this is, if we want to delve into that, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem got us further from that because it's seen as a sort of a taunting measure if you understand the internal politics of what's going on there.
I think this is when Patrick started getting a little bit triggered, where he didn't like this.
Made some space travel promises. I mean, I can't think of promises he made that he did keep, other than I guess he was going to do tax reform and he did tax reform. So as a policy matter, a complete and total failure. I do think maybe the First Step Act on criminal justice reform did some good things. I'm sort of glad to give him credit on that. But so, on policy, failure. And then, on rhetoric, we could spend 3 hours just looking at quotes.
So why do you think that?
Anyway, I encourage you to check out the entire thing. It was a pretty interesting experience for sure. And we'll be publishing the entire thing with like a bigger commentary that I'm going to do, I believe tomorrow or in the next couple of days over the next short period of time. That's for sure. I also appeared while I was down so the Patrick Bet-David interview was in Florida, in a specific part of that state, Florida. I also appeared with Anthony Pompliano. That interview was in Florida, to a different part of the state. That I believe they are going to be publishing this week, and we will have clips and more information about that. That interview is already on PBD's YouTube, and we'll have it on our YouTube tomorrow. Okay, everybody? Thank you very, very much. I want to say thank you to some great people. Dylan Folger, as well as Lisa Rader, Taylor Ashley, and Giovanni Castro. Thank you for signing up on my website. Folks, here's the deal. We have an initial goal of 100 website members and Twitch subscribers today, and boy, do we need them after the YouTube fiasco. If we get to 100, we will go for 250. At 250, I will stick around and stream the Republican rebuttal from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. If we make it to 250, we will go for 500. And then if we get to 500, I will dye the mustache a color to be decided upon by the audience. We are in the new studio, absolutely. LR Fan asks if I saw repugnant Marjorie Taylor Greene carrying a white balloon around the Capitol. I did. It was pathetic. We have members of Congress entering. We will, of course, go to live audio in about 15 minutes when Joe Biden arrives. There is Senator Amy Klobuchar, Dick Durbin behind her. You see Senator Charles Schumer here in the sharp blue suit with the red glasses. They also have a guy named Mitch McConnell there, as you can see, looking like the center of the party. There is lying Republican Congressman George Anthony Kitara DeVolder Santos speaking to Willard Mitt Romney. Willard Mitt Romney making nice with George Santos, who the hell knows what he's going to say today. Republican Senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, at the bottom right of your screen. All sorts of folks coming in. You see Lauren Boebert with the glasses in the upper right of the screen by Matt Gaetz. As you can see, the Matt Gaetz head almost completely obscuring, like an eclipse, Lauren Boebert. But certainly they are both there. That I can assure you. Senator Menendez there in the glasses behind Tim Scott, filing in. Joe Manchin here at the front, shaking hands. Mitch McConnell just really looking like the life of the party, as all of us have known him to be. And as you can see, also Joe Biden's motorcade starting to make its way over to the Capitol. I do expect a policy-heavy speech from Joe Biden. We are expecting a number of new proposals. That is Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, who won after, 15 votes, 20 votes, something like that. There is formerly Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema. She's the one in the yellow dress. I know it's hard to spot her there. A very subtle and sober outfit on such a day as this. There is Senator Joe Manchin, whose suits are often much, much, much too big for him. That's also a Trump move. There is Rick Scott, who just shook hands with lying Congressman George Santos, Charles Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, of course. Thanks to Jason Sickmeyer for signing up on my website for a membership. You are number 43 today. Also, thanks to Josh Myron, who signed up on my website. You are new member number 44. And a huge thank you to Oceanova, Breezy, Deeper Shades of House, and Bowflex Man for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. It's so great to be back and to see everybody. We still have about 20 minutes before too much gets going. There is Congressman Hakeem Jeffries speaking to, I don't know who, was that Joni Ernst? I couldn't tell from the back. We see Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren in the blue speaking to, I don't know who that was, actually. I don't know who that was. I have a recommendation for folks. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but Bryan Cranston, just a fantastic actor from Breaking Bad and The Dentist on Seinfeld, he spoke with Bill Maher, and Bill Maher tried to pull some of this anti-woke stuff, and I really like the way Cranston handled it. Let's just listen to a couple of minutes. I recommend watching this in full.
No, I just think we need to live in the year we're living in, and acknowledging progress is not saying the past isn't horrible or that we're done and there's no more work to be done. It's just being realistic about where we are today. And where we are today is nothing like the times you're describing, as bad as they were. So you're. I mean, this is, right. I think, a problem with a lot of the left. They seem to be obsessed on the past. The past is important. It's not the only thing. They teach it like the Holocaust. Again, I think most places do teach it. There are places. There are also there are places that go too far on either side. Can we agree with that? But I bet
both sides-ism.
Most places in America. I mean, again, this is 2023. The people who are doing the teaching are of a generation that is not mostly interested in suppressing the past or being racist. I mean,
I disagree with that.
Well, then you don't watch a lot of the videos that they themselves post.
They themselves.
Teachers and educators. Trust me, they're
Brian, just trust Bill Maher.
Hyper aware of race. If anything, it is injected too much into everything. But you sound like you're more in the Hollywood woke camp, and I'm not that's fine. It doesn't mean we have to.
No, it's like it's a humanistic camp. I want. Did you know when you were a child? Did you know that segregation was all through?
Again, when I was a child, was the 60s.
Yeah.
This is 2023. When you keep going back to like how it was, and as if the same people. It is still, of course. You know what? Racism is always going to be present in not just white people, but in all people, to a certain degree. You can't.
Total red herring.
Completely sanctify human nature. It's just what it is. It's tainted. We try to extirpate it as much as we possibly can, but we can't. Certainly, it's a great thing that we've passed most of the laws that you would need. I mean, discrimination is illegal, has been for a very long time. Obviously, it'll always be fought in the courts and so forth. But
it's like such a simplistic misunderstanding of the way the world actually works. You know, we made it illegal, guys. I mean, come on, it's been illegal for a long time. Oh, pretty good point, huh?
As opposed to these errors you're talking about when it wasn't even the law. Jim Crow, yes. Before the Civil Rights Act, yes. But that's a long time ago.
So,
and
let
you
me ask
seem to think that the country in 2023 is populated by seething racists who are unaware of our past and the obligation we have to do better.
I do agree that there are people who want to move forward without looking at the past. And when you move forward without looking at the past and course correcting, you're in trouble because it can happen again.
Well, can't we do both? Can't we be
me
cognizant of the past and move forward?
Yes, you can. Let me ask you a
and
question.
acknowledge the present.
What's great is this isn't even what Bryan Cranston does, and he really just does very well here.
And let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you look at this guy's hat, Make America Great Again, what do you think about that?
Sweetheart, nobody has made more fun of Donald Trump than I.
I know.
So you
asking
can't get me on like I like Donald Trump. I
I'm
don't
not
like
saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying
and
that.
I get your point. I've said it myself. Yes, make it.
All right. Anyway, we're short on time tonight, but I really like what Bryan Cranston did here. I thought it was really very, very good. And I encourage people to check it out. Thanks to Tyler Jackson for gifting 2 subscriptions and Haley Quinn for signing up on my website. This puts us at 52. As a reminder, the State of the Union address will start in about 12 minutes. Joe Biden is making his way over. These are just preliminaries. They're pretty meaningless. We never really listen to them. It's just Kevin McCarthy trying to use language to communicate, and it's not particularly pretty, I will tell you that. The military leaders are here. We are still awaiting the Supreme Court, members of the Supreme Court. We will see if they all attend or they do not. After the State of the Union address, Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be giving the Republican response, I believe, from her state of Arkansas. I sort of want to just go to bed, but if we get to 250 members and Twitch subscribers, I will stay. I will stay and stream that as well. So there could be a pretty big night ahead of us. Let's just briefly wait. Where did I want to go next? Did I want to go here? Oh yeah, here is Senator Kennedy, not of the Democratic Kennedys. Okay, this is Senator Kennedy. He's a Republican. Here's his sort of preview of tonight's speech. Listen to this.
Washington, you have to watch what people do, not what they say. In Washington, what you do is what you believe, and everything else is just cottage cheese. After 2 years, we know what President Biden believes because we know what he's done. Bigger government, higher taxes, more spending, more debt, more rate.
Hey, in all seriousness, has Joe Biden raised taxes? I know sometimes taxes are raised, but I really don't know what they're talking about. I follow this stuff relatively closely. Maybe it happened the week I was away. What taxes did Joe Biden raise? I know tonight he's going to propose a billionaire's tax, one of the most progressive proposals we will see from a sitting president in history, if indeed he proposes that tonight. But I'm not aware of taxes being raised. People aren't sure. Yeah, I don't know, guys.
Regulation, an open border, a weaker military, criminals are the good guys, a drag queen for every school library, whether the parents want that or not. Now, those aren't words. That's President Biden's record.
Yeah. Anyway, these people are living in a complete and total fantasy world. That's really the unfortunate thing. Unfortunate for us and them, I guess I would say. Danny Mickle with a beautiful super chat says a State of the Union speech isn't complete without a David Pakman commentary and analysis. This is easily one of my favorite channels for politics. Keep it up, sir. Danny, thank you. Thank you. And remember, if you are watching on YouTube, for absolutely no money whatsoever, you can make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Very, very, very easy. Very, very, very easy. And I hope that everybody has liked the stream, even though I see that you have not. And I would love for you to hit that subscribe button because it is a very, very big deal. We actually had a best month in years last month with over 40,000 new subscribers. Quite a scene. Amy Klobuchar and other folks are making their way through here, and it's all happening pretty powerfully. Dustin says, David, sir, it's a little outdated. Did you get word of me infiltrating the RNC party with your show logo on my kick drum? I did, and I was away, and we didn't get to it, but it was very funny. And it's a delightful, delightful thing. Let me see if I can find it, if we have time here. I don't have it in a place that I can easily access it, unfortunately. Heather Burns just signed up at joinpacman.com and is new member number 53. Very much appreciate that. Today's coupon code is please no more Trump. Please no more Trump. As you type it in, you actually have to say it that way. Let's listen to maybe like one voicemail, just because we're all here together in the new studio, okay?
You know what really pisses me off more than Mariana thinking that she can just pass off her really horrible, bizarre, schizophrenic, whatever you call it, to get...
All right, so one voicemail, and we've done it, and now we can move on, I think. I don't know that we need to necessarily do more of that. Thanks, Eric, for the super chat. I very much appreciate that. And thanks to DJ White Rabbit for the Twitch Prime subscription. Okay, what do we have coming up on the show this week? That's a great question. Let me see what we do have coming up. Tomorrow, I will be interviewing George. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Does he pronounce it Monbiot? Does anybody know? I don't know what the accepted Western pronunciation is. Wait, Wednesday? We don't usually do an interview on Wednesday. That's actually odd. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow. Okay, that'll be tomorrow. If you're just joining us, we are moments away from Joe Biden's second State of the Union address. It is expected to be very proposal heavy. I do believe that at least one Republican will yell something out. I don't know if it'll be George Anthony Kitara DeVolder Santos or maybe Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I do think it is very likely someone yells out. It is almost commonplace now. Cry for attention from these folks. We are now seeing, let's see who's coming in now. Man, I don't know who these guys are. Anybody know who these guys are? Now we lost the live feed. Let's just refresh it. Oh, now it's the Supreme Court. Okay. It's a little weird to cheer for the Supreme Court, right? It's sort of like, great job in a completely nonpartisan way evaluating how the law relates to the facts of cases. I mean, it's just sort of like, it's almost strange, really, to clap in that scenario. Thanks to Michael DeVore for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 54 today. Moments away from Joe Biden. He probably has arrived at the Capitol, but is just waiting before making an entrance. And that will be very soon. Okay, a lot of people asking, am I covering the Huckabee Sanders response? I will cover the Huckabee Sanders response if we get to 250 members and Twitch subscribers. Otherwise, I'm going to bed because I have a 7-month-old baby and sleeping is good. Okay, so that's the way it's going to be. There's Elena Kagan, John Roberts. A lot happening here, huh? A lot happening. George Santos is here. I know a lot of people are... It's more of, I think, a morbid curiosity than it is anything else, quite frankly. There is the second gentleman, Douglas Emhoff. Thanks to Rhinodactyl and N3 for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. There is the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. Republicans, that's getting a little loud. Republicans will be quick to remind you She is not a medical doctor. And that is, of course, true. She never pretended to be a medical doctor. Thanks, Blueberry Babe, for gifting a subscription. I appreciate that. Rusty Shackelford says via Super Chat, Rusty has been freed. Do you think Brett Kavanaugh is hiding a few beers under his robes? I hear he likes beer. I read he was going to be boofing in secret during this event. Was that Bono from U2? Brian says via Super Chat, at least one Republican will shout something out. My favorite Pacmanism so far today.
The president's cabinet.
All right. Joe Biden's cabinet is now entering. A very, very powerful cabinet. Folks, come on in. I see people who are just kind of like sticking their head into the stream and they're not sure whether they should stay or not. Everybody's welcome here. If you troll or attack people, you'll get banned. But everybody is welcome here, and it is such a great thing to see you. It's starting in a second. Everybody relax. It's starting in a moment. A lot of handshaking and very powerful. This is what we call glad handing, I think. Yeah, no, people are getting upset that they're not sure if this is the right place. Just hang out. Everybody's welcome, okay? Everybody's welcome. I am not sure how long the speech is expected to be. State of the Union addresses historically, very big range of duration, very big range. There is Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg entering the chamber. I want to say thanks to, you're not going to get me with this, Cole. Cole just signed up at joinpacman.com, tried using a fake name that was going to be vulgar, but I didn't fall for it. I didn't fall for it, folks, much to your dismay. On average, these speeches roughly go an hour and a half. Yeah, I mean, if you just had to say very, very roughly speaking, let's see, duration of State of the Union addresses. The shortest one I can find is, let's see. Oh, these used to be pretty damn short. Richard Nixon once gave a 28-minute State of the Union address. I would love that. I would love that. Historically, they have gone longer. Joe Biden's 2 addresses, the first one wasn't really the State of the Union, ran 61 and 65 minutes. Trump's went as long as 82 minutes. Trump does struggle to read, and that probably was in part responsible for it. Barack Obama had one as short as 51 minutes and as long as 69. Obama. Anyway, you get the idea. It would almost certainly be over by 10:30 Eastern, I think is where we're going to put it. There's Pete Buttigieg shaking hands with Willard Mitt Romney. Who's this guy? Did not recognize him, that's for damn sure. Great to be back. I appreciate all of the kind words from everybody. Giovanni says, what if you messed up and bought yourself another subscription instead of gifting it? That's a tough situation. Not too much I can do about that, unfortunately. I wish I could do more. I really do. Very, very much do. Thanks to Sacred Heels TV for the Twitch Prime subscription. Very much appreciate that. Cinema is off the rails, yeah. Folks talking about my mustache, not really the subject today. We are on the verge of Joe Biden introducing some very significant policy, some of it quite progressive from what I've read, and we are not going to make this a referendum on my mustache. But as I did say, I will dye the mustache. I will fill it in. If we get to 500 website members and Twitch subscribers, I think it is reasonably unlikely. So I probably won't have to do that. Is my mustache on a war footing? It is. It is absolutely. Bryce asks, did I give Sam Sater his panels back? I did, yeah. We are now in the extraordinarily roomy new David Pakman Show studios. I cleaned up for everybody. I shaved. I trimmed the mustache because I respect you so much. and it is such an important evening. And we are indeed in the new studio. And I love it. I have to tell you, I think it's a fantastic, fantastic studio. Thanks to Jason Sickmeyer and Patrick Boland for gifting 2 subscriptions. If you want to claim a free subscription, just go to davidpakman.com/free membership. Very, very easy to do. And Joe Biden, any moment. How many subscribers to shave half the mustache? Okay, listen, how about this? If we get to 500, we will do a poll where I will either shave half the mustache and do a show with half a mustache, or fill it in. Or maybe both would be interesting. Listen, if we get to 500, I'm willing to do anything people want with the mustache other than one particular thing, which I'm sure everybody knows what it would be. There is something that would be totally inappropriate to do with the mustache. We don't even have to mention it. And it's not even on the table. It's just, there's that one thing I wouldn't do. Nelson says it's not George Santos. There's a doppelganger. It's got to be. David says, wondering, would you have shot down the Chinese balloon? I would have scooped it up. Like with Newt Gingrich thinks we have these huge balloon pooper scoopers. I would have scooped it up with a pooper scooper. I think that would have made a lot more sense. Thanks to Mogiu and Aris for the Twitch Prime subscriptions, pushing us to 63. Any moment, President Joseph R. Biden Jr. will be entering to start officially his second State of the Union address, but sort of like the third. Jake says mustaches are brave. Firestar says great mustache. I like that. Nobel laureate George Santos has just subscribed on Twitch. Here we go. Welcome, everybody.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
For those joining us from overseas, this is President Joe Biden here entering. He is the President of the United States. He did something remarkable in November of 2020. He received more votes in enough states to defeat Donald Trump. Now, I know many of you have heard that there are lunatics in our country who don't believe that happened. Let me be here to assure you. Joe Biden won in November of 2020. It is an uncontroversial claim to make, and here he is as President of the United States. We are keeping a very close eye on George Anthony Kitara DeVolder Santos. Will there be any acknowledgement whatsoever from Joe Biden? Let's hope not. Lauren Boebert, what will she do? I do expect some Republican to yell out some horrible thing at some point during this speech. Without a doubt, it seems to be almost a requirement. Will it be Dark Brandon presenting his speech today or not? We will soon see. A billionaire tax expected to be proposed by President Joe Biden, a number of other legislative priorities for the second half of his first term. And it is actually being considered almost like a setup speech to outline what his 2024 reelection campaign could be like if he were indeed to announce, which he is expected to. You Alien has just signed up via Twitch Prime. I really appreciate that. Also, thanks to Giovanni Castro, who just gifted a subscription on my website. There is someone out there who will very, very much appreciate that. If you've not seen one of these speeches before, it is filled with pomp and circumstance. There is a lot of clapping as the president enters and says hi to everybody. Generally speaking, everybody claps at this point in time, both Republicans and Democrats. The president will then be reintroduced up on the dais, for lack of a better term. At that point, again, everybody will cheer, Republicans and Democrats, as is the convention. It's really, there's a number of these please clap moments. Throughout the speech, you will see partisan clapping, where often Republicans or Democrats will clap, but not the other party. It will be typically a perfect partisan split. And this is just the way it sort of goes. It always is this way. Let's see if we can squeeze in a few more super chats as they come in. Sean says, David, I saw your twin at Mr. Olympia. His name is Chris Bumstead. Google it. Let's see. Chris Bumstead. Oh, my God. That guy looks nothing like me. Haley says, go teaser for Evil Twins. Hail to the chief. Jeff says, set looks great, but I'd like to see you touch the plant. Love your show. Keep up the great work. Oh, I don't touch the plant. It's very, very dangerous to do that. I would never do that. Thanks for all you do. Suddenly, the Biden IRS death squad storms the State of the Union, ordered to gun down every congressman who voted to condemn socialism. Oh boy, yeah, that's getting pretty out there. Tommy Salami is the latest Twitch Prime subscriber. I very much appreciate that. Folks, we are probably looking at about 65 to 70 minutes as far as a speech goes here, once it starts. And this is why we're talking about 10:30, because it will take a little while before it starts. Sarah Huckabee Sanders will give the response. If we get to 250 website members before the end of Biden's speech, I will stick around for the rebuttal. If people don't want that, perfectly fine.
Hello. Thank you. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you. You can smile. It's okay.
What is happening?
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Wow, Biden really
Mr.
cutting it
Speaker,
short, huh?
Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there. Members of Congress. By the way, Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow, next week. I have to stay home. Got to work something out here. Members of the Cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, and retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and to you, my fellow Americans. You know, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
Wow, treating people with respect. What a moment. People who deserve no respect, by the way.
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you. And I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem Jeffries.
Former guest on the David Pakman Show, Hakeem Jeffries, by the way.
He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations to the longest-serving leader in the history of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell. Where are you, Mitch? And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another You know, another term as Senate Minority Leader. You know, I think you, only this time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader. You're the majority leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what. I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
Wow. Wow.
Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience, of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up. It's a story unique among all nations. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs, more jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years, because of you all, because of the American people.
Boo jobs, says McCarthy.
And 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were robbed of so much, and today, COVID no longer controls our lives. And 2 years ago, democracy faced its greatest threats in the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken.
Understand that he's talking about bruised by Trump's presence for 4 years.
As we gather here tonight, we're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I can define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities. We don't think anything is beyond our capacity. Everything is a possibility. You know, we're often told that Democrats and Republicans can't work together. But over the past 2 years, we've proved the cynics and naysayers wrong. Yes, we disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together to defend a stronger and safer Europe. You came together to pass once in a generation infrastructure law, building bridges connecting our nation and our people. We came together to pass the most significant law ever, helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact, it was important.
There's Boebert.
And in fact, I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president, from reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, the Electoral Count Reform Act, the Respect for Marriage Act that protects the right to marry the person you love. And to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
I can think of a few reasons.
I think folks, you all are as formed as I am, but I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in more than, and not no one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas. Factories closed down. Once thriving cities and towns that many of you represent became shadows of what they used to be. And along the way, something else we lost: pride, our sense of self-worth. I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make sure our economy works for everyone, so we can all feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well.
McCarthy doesn't like it. There's Bernie.
I know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low.
That's true.
A near record.
It's just a fact. And imagine being these Republicans and not clapping for that. What, all of a sudden you can't trust that? Mitt Romney has the testicular fortitude to get up and clap.
We've already created, your help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Folks, Inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're better positioned than any country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down. Here at home, gas prices are down $1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up.
All true.
Additionally, over the last 2 years, a record 10 million Americans applied to start new businesses. 10 million. And by the way, every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything, from cell phones to automobiles.
That's JP, right? J.D. Mandel.
In America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips, each of those automobiles. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up. People got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act.
There you go. These people.
I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. We're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America. We've already created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs without this law, before the law kicks in. With this new law, we're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. And I mean all across the country, throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years. Outside of Columbus, Ohio, Intel is building semiconductor factories on 1,000 acres literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment, 7,000 construction jobs, 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying an average of $130,000 a year, and many do not require a college degree. Jobs.
McCarthy's really struggling here not to clap. Oh my goodness, look at Ted Cruz.
Work together, these jobs where people don't have to leave home to search for opportunity. And it's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks, as you all know,
there's Pete.
We used to be #1 in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world. The United States of America, 13th in the world in infrastructure, modern infrastructure. But now we're coming back because we came together and passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, the largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
Wow.
And folks, already we've funded over 20,000 projects, including major airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland. Projects that are going to put thousands of people to work rebuilding our highways, our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America. Urban, rural, tribal. And folks, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. And I mean this sincerely. I want to thank my Republican friends who voted for the law, and my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promised I'd be a president for all Americans. We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking. Look.
Oh, boy.
This law.
Biden started slow, but he's picking up the pace here. I'm liking it.
Will further unite all of America. Projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago, badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks.
Hey, has Joe Manchin clapped at anything so far?
We're going to get it done. Yes. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans and from both states to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project. And while I was there, I met a young woman named Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know. Sarah, how are you? Well, Sarah, for 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky. The folks who built Cincinnati's skyline. Sarah said she can't wait to be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, we're also replacing poisonous lead pipes that go into 10 million homes in America, 400,000 school and child care centers. So every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look.
Seems better, yeah.
We're making sure.
Should be a priority.
We're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids. which many thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again, I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it, we're going to buy American. We're going to buy America. Folks, and it's totally consistent with international trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards that require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America.
Why didn't Trump do that if Trump's so tough on China?
I mean it. Lumber, glass, drywall, fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten. So many of you listening to me tonight, I know you feel it. So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind and treated like they're invisible. Maybe that's you watching from home. Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you? The folks at home remember them. You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer, or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you. What are you going to have? You get money to pay for those medical bills? Or are you going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it? I get it. I get it. With the Inflation Reduction Act that I signed into law, we're taking on powerful interests to bring health care costs down so you can sleep better at night with more security. You know, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone. It cost the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Packaging and all, you may get up to $13.
This is a big announcement here.
But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore. So many things that we did are only now coming to fruition. We said we were doing this, and we said we passed the law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January 1 of this year. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare.
That's a big deal.
People are just finding out. I'm sure you're getting the same calls I'm getting. Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes who need this insulin to stay alive. Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
Major announcement, folks.
Folks, the big pharma's still going to do very well, I promise you all. I promise you they're going to do very well. This law also
someone
caps
just yell
and
out?
only go into effect.
Did you guys hear that?
2025. Costs, out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are. Because you know why? You all know it. Many of you, like many in my family, have cancer. You know the drugs can range from $10,000, $11,000, $14,000, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. If drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money, it cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars, by hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs are drugs purchased by Medicare to keep their commitment to the seniors. Well, guess what? Instead of paying $400 or $500 a month, you're paying $15. That's a lot of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why wouldn't we want that? Now, some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm going to exaggerate, but threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. As my coach, that's okay, that's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year. Make no mistake, if you try anything to raise the cost of prescription drugs, I will veto it. Look,
Nicely done, sir.
I'm pleased to say that more Americans have health insurance now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience, let's finish the job and make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid.
Obama. Kirsten doesn't like it.
Look, the Inflation Reduction Act is also the most significant investment ever in climate change. Ever. Lowering utility bills, creating American jobs, leading the world to a clean energy future. I visited the devastating aftermath of record floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, as I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri. And we don't have global warming? Not a problem. In addition to emergency recovery, from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho, we're rebuilding for the long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations installed across the country by tens of thousands of IBW.
That I love. I am big on that.
We're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances.
I will soon be announcing that I am getting an induction cooktop and getting rid of my gas stove, folks.
Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren, to confront it. I'm proud of how America, at last, is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while. But guess what? No, we do.
Imagine clapping
but
for that.
There's so much more to do.
People are morons.
We got to finish the job. And we pay for these investments in our future by finally making the wealthiest and biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share.
They're not fans of that. Not fans of that.
Look, I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist, but pay your fair share. I think a lot of you at home agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Look, the idea.
Give me a break.
That in 2020, 55 of the largest corporations in America, the Fortune 500, made $40 billion in profits and paid zero in federal taxes? Zero? Folks, what a stupid son. Simply not fair. But now, because of the law I signed, billion-dollar companies have to pay a minimum of 15%. God love them. 15%.
What a tragedy.
That's less than a nurse pays. And let me be crystal clear. I said at the very beginning, under my plans, as long as I'm president, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in taxes. Nobody, not one penny. But let's finish the job. There's more to do.
Here we go.
We have to reward work, not just wealth. Pass my proposal for the billionaire minimum tax.
There it is.
You know, there's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it.
McCarthy won't clap for that. McCarthy's like, no, the school teacher should be paying a higher tax rate than the billionaire.
I know you aren't enthusiastic about that, but think about it. Think about it. Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous. Why? They invested too little of that profit to increase domestic production. And when I talk to a couple of them, they say, well, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells, all the oil refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them?
Look at McCarthy.
I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade. And that's going to exceed.
At least.
That. We're going to need it. Production. If they had, in fact, invested in the production to keep gas prices down, instead, they used the record profits to buy back their own stock, rewarding their CEOs and shareholders. Corporations ought to do the right thing. That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investments.
McCarthy's a no on that
one. They'll still make considerable profit. Let's finish the job and close the loophole to allow very wealthy to avoid paying their taxes. Instead of cutting the number of audits for wealthy taxpayers, I just signed a law to reduce the deficit by $114 billion by cracking down on wealthy tax cheats. That's being fiscally responsible. In the last 2 years,
Manchin seems like he doesn't even know where he is.
By more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration, the American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire national debt that took over 200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out.
There's the screaming.
How did Congress respond to that debt? They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster in the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit.
There it is.
Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. So some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it,
Rick Scott wanted that,
contact
didn't
my
he?
office. I'll give you a copy.
Oh, no.
I'll
Oh
give
God,
you a copy of the
disgusting,
proposal.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. No, I tell you, I enjoy conversion.
Remove
You know,
her.
it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant.
Vile woman.
But it's being proposed by individuals.
What is she wearing, by the way?
I'm
What
not
is this?
politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you.
There's like a desperation for attention there in every way, huh?
Folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved in.
Is McCarthy shushing Green? Did you guys see that?
Folks, so folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be touched. All right.
There it is. I mean, listen.
I'm ready.
They all booed when he said you guys are open to cutting it, so I guess it shouldn't ever come up again?
Social Security and Medicare are a lifeline for millions of seniors. Americans have to pay into them from the very first paycheck they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors. Stand up and show them. We will not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do.
They said it.
And if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it. And look, I'm not going to allow them to be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently it's not going to be a problem.
Right.
Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that.
There you go.
I can tell you, the plan I'm going to show you is going to cut the deficit by another $2 trillion. And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare or Social Security. In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades.
They'll be against that,
That's going to be the next
too.
argument. How do we keep it solvent, right? Well, we'll not raise tax on anyone making under 400 grand, but we'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look. Here's the deal. They aren't just taking advantage of the tax code. They're taking advantage of you, the American consumer. Here's my message to all of you out there. I have your back. We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription. Look.
Wow.
Capitalism without competition is not capitalism. It's extortion. It's exploitation. Last year, I cracked down with the help of many of you on foreign shipping companies that were making you pay higher prices for every good coming into the country. I signed a bipartisan bill that cut shipping costs by 90%, helping American farmers, businessmen, and consumers. Let's finish the job. Pass the bipartisan legislation to strengthen antitrust enforcement and prevent big online platforms from giving their own products an unfair advantage. My administration is also taking on junk fees, those hidden surcharges too many companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front, refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed. We've reduced exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees by 75% from $30 to $8. Look, junk fees may not matter to the very wealthy, but they matter to most other folks in homes like the one I grew up in, like many of you did. They add up to hundreds of dollars a month. They make it harder for you to pay your bills or afford that family trip. I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels charge on your bill.
Should have seen the ones tacked on to my bill in Florida last week.
Even resorts. The idea that cable, internet, and cell phone companies can charge you $200 or more if you decide to switch to another provider.
True.
Give me a break. We can stop service fees on tickets to concerts and sporting events and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage. Americans are tired of being. We're tired of being played for suckers. So pass the Junk Fee Prevention Act so companies stop ripping us off. For too long, workers have been getting stiffed, but not anymore. We're beginning to restore the dignity of work. For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements for the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed it because we exposed it. That was part of the deal, guys. Look it up. But not anymore. We're banning those agreements so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth.
Boo.
And I must tell you, this is bound to get a response from my friends on my left but the right. I'm so sick and tired of companies breaking the law by preventing workers from organizing. Pass the PRO Act, because businesses have a right, workers have a right to form a union.
Wow.
And let's guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care. That's going to enable millions of more people to go and stay at work. And let's restore the full child tax credit, which gave tens of millions of parents some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity. We increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable, quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work.
They're against all of it, folks. They're against all of it.
These plans are fully paid for, and we can afford to do them. Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, we made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. But the rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full-time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Any nation that out-educates can out-compete us. Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. We want to have the best educated workforce. Let's finish the job by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Let's give public school teachers a raise.
Man, these Republicans are just against everything.
Progress.
Who's screaming, by the way?
Increasing Pell Grants for working and middle-class families. Let's finish the job and connect students to career opportunities starting in high school. Provide access to 2 years of community college. The best career training in America, in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. And folks, in the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed,
Biden just turned like 8 pages at once. That was weird.
let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up, and soon we'll end the public health emergency. But that's called a public health emergency. But we'll remember the toll and pain that's never going to go away. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving, children orphaned, empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger, we're also got to double down on prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat. Before I came to office, you remember, during that campaign, the big issue was about inspector generals who would protect taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we've recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people.
Finally, something McCarthy can get behind.
That for every dollar we put into fighting fraud, the taxpayers get back at least 10 times as much. It matters. It matters. Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome.
Oh, boy. Depressing situation.
We had to bury Tyree last week. As many of you personally know, there's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine if you lost that child at the hands of the law. Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street. The playing in the park or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children, I never had to have the talk with them. I never had to tell them if a police officer pulls you over, turn your interior lights on right away. Don't reach for your license. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Imagine having to worry like that every single time your kid got in a car. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. With the faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and character that takes. It's up to us, to all of us. We all want the same thing. Neighborhoods free of violence. Law enforcement who earns the community's trust. Just as every cop, when they pin on that badge in the morning, has a right to be able to go home at night, so does everybody else out there. Our children have a right to come home safely. Equal protection under the law is a covenant we have with each other in America. We know police officers put their lives on the line every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much, to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more. In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk their lives every time they put that shield on. But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better. Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community intervention programs. More investment in housing, education, and job training. All this can help prevent violence in the first place. And when police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable. With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this. Something good.
Did he say Tyler?
And all of us. All of us. Folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them. Do something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did. Passing the most sweeping gun safety law in 3 decades. That includes things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others. but we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side when she was dying from cancer. And Brandon now works at the dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there pointing a semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside. And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestled a semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio. 11. He saved lives. It's time we do the same. Ban assault weapons now. Ban them now. Once and for all. I led the fight to do that in 1994. And in 10 years, that ban was law and mass shootings went down. After we let it expire in the Republican administration, mass shootings tripled. Let's finish the job and ban these assault weapons. And let's also come together on immigration. Make it a bipartisan issue once again. We know we now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers, seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border. And a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those on temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Here in the People's House, it's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right and the...
Who's yelling now?
Congress must restore the right
These people.
that was taken away in Roe v. Wade and protect Roe v. Wade. Give every woman a constitutional right. The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care and safeguard patient safety. But already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it. But let's also pass the Bipartisan Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity. Our strength.
No clapping there from Republicans for safety and dignity.
The example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? We stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Will we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did. And together, We did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukrainian's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here, united. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you?
Oh my God.
Thank you. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes. Our nation is working for more freedom, more dignity, more peace, not just in Europe, but everywhere. Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger, investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating, investing in our alliances and working with our allies to protect advanced technology.
McCarthy shushing what sounded like Green there once again, just an embarrassment to herself and her party.
To deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed. I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
The balloon.
Look, let's be clear. Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world. But in the past 2 years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker. Autocracies have grown weaker, not stronger. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one. America's rallying the world to meet those challenges, from climate to global health, to food insecurity, to terrorism, to territorial aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more and doing more. Look, the bridges we're forming between partners in the Pacific and those in the Atlantic, and those who bet against America are learning how wrong they are. It's never, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never.
McCarthy sort of is going with that.
Well, when I came to office, most assured that bipartisanship assumed was impossible, but never believed it. That's why a year ago I offered a unity agenda to the nation as I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed a law making it easy for doctors to prescribe effective treatments for opioid addiction. We passed the gun safety law, making historic investments in mental health. We launched the ARPA-H drive for breakthrough in the fights against cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Heath Robinson PACT Act, named after the late Iraq War veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burn kits I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. We can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction. and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. Big, you
what
got
are people doing? People are yelling it's your fault.
So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production and the sale and trafficking with more drug detection machines.
It's hard to imagine more disgusting and self-debasing people.
Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we owe them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing running children for profit. It's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online. Ban targeted advertising to children and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civilian life. Helping veterans afford the rent, because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country.
Basic stuff. And we can't do it.
Dennis McDonough is here of the VA. We had our first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years. Turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases. Provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice, an Irishman and a daughter of immigrants from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel Jill and I got married in New York City. Kindred spirits. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava, and I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo, 1 kidney removed, giving a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Abe is beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight if she's not asleep already. For the lives we can save. For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and proves that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through PEPFAR to transform the global fight against HIV/AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer. Let's end cancer as we know it. Cure some cancers once and for all. Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all of these things. Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged big lie assailed and unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is a man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong, as resilient as they get. My friend Paul Pelosi. Paul, stand up.
Good to see him there.
But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There's no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. Honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy. And we must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor.
How on earth does McCarthy get away with not clapping? Oh, now he's reluctantly started to clap. By my God.
Every generation of Americans has faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point, one of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we, the people. We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best, optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people. The only nation in the world built on an idea, the only one. Other nations are defined by geography, ethnicity, but we're the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God. A nation that stands as a beacon to the world. A nation in a new age of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong. I'm not new to this place. I stand here tonight having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
There it is.
Thank you.
Well, truly hard to remember a more disgusting performance during a State of the Union address by a House Speaker than Kevin McCarthy's performance tonight. Just vile. But let's not let him overshadow what in sum total was a very good speech. A number of policy proposals outlined, an energy that matched the circumstances of the country at this time, and making very clear in a number of areas with undeniable facts, which Republicans will say they don't matter anymore. Oh, none of those numbers matter anymore. It's really hard to make a mathematical case that we have a disastrous economy right now, as Republicans want to say. And of course, the unemployment rate is only one part of it. But you look at workforce participation, wages, inflation coming down, stock market over the last several months. It is very difficult to make any strong mathematical case that the economy is not currently doing well. Now, the recession fear-mongering continues, of course. Eventually, there's going to be a recession. That's the way that our system works, unless something changes. But these are folks and Republicans who have completely abandoned even pretending to care about policy, and who really have no bottom whatsoever. There are people saying, David, can you just remind us of how other speeches from former people could have gone?
No more drop boxes. We have to keep our country gay. And the combat infantrymen.
And God bless the United States.
Americans of all walks of life rose up.
A rhino named Mitt Romney, virtue cycling.
Okay.
I've had more investigations than Jesse James, Billy the Could.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so we could sort of leave it there. I think infantryman gets me every time.
And the combat infantrymen.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, listen, we saw it. I'm going to take time to really deeply think about what was presented tonight as far as policy is concerned, and we will have an analysis tomorrow. And I would like to figure out who are the people who yelled out disgustingly. Certainly Gates, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert, we distinctly heard and saw to some degree. Have I seen the Hassan AI clips? No, but if people make some David Pakman AI clips, I would love to review them and look at them very, very closely on the show. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. We will have a whole thing for you tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. And we will see everybody tomorrow. Thank you very much.